Wilmas Gang. The Wilmas 13, also known as the Wilmas Gang or the Wilmington Gang, is a predominantly Mexican-American criminal organization comprising three subsets: the Eastside Wilmas, ESW, Westside Wilmas, WSW, and Northside Wilmas, NSW. These gangs operate in the Wilmington neighborhood of South Los Angeles, California. History and origin. The Wilmas Gang is the most notorious and oldest Latino street gang in the Wilmington district of Los Angeles. Established long before the creation of the Mexican Mafia, the Wilmas have a history dating back to the 1950s. Subsets of Wilmas. 1. Eastside Wilmas, ESW. Originated on the east side of Wilmington, around L Street and Hyatt Avenue. Avalon Boulevard serves as the boundary between ESW and WSW, approximately 650 active members. Notable cliques: Ghost Town Locos, Hyatt Street Locos, Maher Locos, Insane Mexican Gang, and L Street Maniacs. The Ghost Town Locos share the Dana Strand projects with the Eastside Pain Bloods, a predominantly black gang, known to sport the color red. 2. Westside Wilmas, WSW. Originated on the west side of Wilmington, west of Avalon Boulevard, Pacific Coast Highway, and Anaheim Boulevard. Ethnically mixed, including Mexican Americans, African Americans, and Caucasians. Notable clique: Woolhall Park Locos, known for violent acts with assault rifles, AK-47s. Known to sport the color blue. 3. Northside Wilmas, NSW. Established on the north side of Wilmington, with parts extending into Carson. Smaller compared to ESW and WSW. Allies with the Realty Street Locos, a Latino gang in Carson. In the news. The Wilmas street gangs have been making headlines since the 1950s. In 1988, an incident involving Blanco, a member of the Eastside Wilmas, resulted in his death after a confrontation with Westside Wilmas affiliates at the intersection of D Street and Wilmington Boulevard. Blanco's declaration of East Side led to his shooting by WSW members, allies and rivals. The three Wilmas gangs, East, West, and North, initially shared a close alliance. However, in 1986, a bitter rivalry erupted between ESW and WSW over a confrontation involving a female, resulting in several deaths. In 2000, Wilmington saw 45 murders, with 39 being gang-related. WSW and NSW remained allies. A brief peace treaty in the early 1990s between the warring gangs lasted only 2 years. Law enforcement views the East Wilmas and West Wilmas as a plague to the Wilmington community. The Wilmas have bitter rivalries with gangs in Harbor City and San Pedro, such as the Harbor City Boys, RIFA, Harbor City Crips, Dodge City Crips, and the Rancho San Pedro Gang. Despite the rivalry between the East and West Wilmas, law enforcement believes that the upper ranks of both gangs answer to the Mexican Mafia, a powerful prison gang. The Wilmas are involved in various criminal activities, including drug trafficking and violent crimes, making them a significant concern for law enforcement in the Wilmington area. Key figures in the Westside Wilmas Gang. One notable figure associated with the Westside Wilmas Gang is Raul Molina. Law enforcement officials state that Molina was inducted into the Mexican Mafia around 2004. Despite being imprisoned since 1995 for second-degree murder, Molina is believed to still be directing the Westside Wilmas criminal activities from behind bars. Another significant individual connected to the Westside Wilmas is Daniel Nunez, also known as Speedy. Nunez is currently on death row at San Quentin for a racially motivated double murder. Despite his incarceration, he allegedly arranged drug and gun sales for the gang through WhatsApp messages. The Westside Wilmas, along with other Wilmas gangs, are believed to be controlled by the Mexican Mafia at higher levels, despite street-level rivalries. This connection to the powerful prison gang adds to the notoriety and influence of the Westside Wilmas in the criminal underworld of Los Angeles. Notable case: The People vs. Senan Grande Graida and Daniel Thomas Graida. Sinan Grande Graida and Daniel Tomas Graida stood trial and faced severe sentences after being found guilty by a jury. Sinan received a 110-year-to-life sentence for first-degree premeditated murder with added gang and firearm enhancements. Daniel, facing similar charges, received 62 years to life. Factual background. A. The defendants. Sinan, a member of both La Rana Gang and the Mexican Mafia, is Daniel's uncle. Daniel is affiliated with the Westside Wilmas Gang. B. Wilmington Inn Motel residents. The Wilmington Inn Motel, located in the heart of Westside Wilmas territory, housed the victim, Johnny Carbajal, along with his family. Johnny's mother, Stella, and her husband, John Beck, also lived there. Beck had crossed paths with Sinan during a stint in prison. C. The murder. On November 29, 2010, a dispute erupted between Johnny and Raul Benitez over gang colors. Later that day, Sinan arrived at the motel to take his niece, Torres, to the hospital. The confrontation escalated, leading Sinan to call for backup. Daniel and another accomplice soon arrived. Inside the motel office, Sinan slapped Johnny, and Daniel shot him twice, causing Johnny to die from severe blood loss. D. The investigation. Eyewitnesses pointed to Sinan and Daniel as the culprits. Cell phone records and wiretap evidence cemented their connection to the crime. E. The cell phone records. These records revealed calls between Sinan and Daniel around the time of the murder, placing them at the scene. F. The surveillance and wiretaps. Wiretap recordings captured incriminating conversations that tied Sinan and Daniel to the murder. G. The gang evidence 1. René Enriquez. René Enriquez, once a member of the Mexican Mafia, took the stand as a gang expert for the prosecution. Enriquez, who joined the Arta gang at age 13 and spent 17 years in the Mexican Mafia, testified about his life of crime, which included multiple murders. Now a cooperating witness, he educates law enforcement and the public about gang life. Enriquez detailed the Mexican Mafia's structure and rules, highlighting the significance of the black hand tattoo symbolizing membership. He explained how the Mexican Mafia controls subordinate gangs like the Sureños, using them as foot soldiers. Committing crimes for the Mexican Mafia boosts a Sureño's status within the gang hierarchy. Enriquez recounted his relationship with Sinan and testified about Sinan's involvement in violent acts, including ordering murders. He emphasized that breaking Mexican Mafia rules, even by relatives, could result in death. Enriquez concluded that the murder reflected a prearranged plan to punish disrespect towards a Mexican Mafia member, reinforcing gang control and instilling fear. 2. Law enforcement gang testimony. Several police officers testified about their interactions with Daniel and Sinan, during which both admitted their gang affiliations. Detective Christopher Brandon and Officer Mark Maldonado provided expert insights into the operations of the Mexican Mafia and Westside Wilmas, respectively. They explained how gang culture and allegiance influenced the crime, with Daniel's tattoos and actions signifying loyalty to the Mexican Mafia. 3. Defense expert gang testimony. Alex Alonso, a gang expert from the University of Southern California, testified for the defense. He argued that not all crimes by gang members benefit their gang and that personal conflicts can be mistaken for gang-related motives. Alonso suggested the killing might have stemmed from a personal altercation rather than an organized gang directive. Discussion. A. Unduly prejudicial gang evidence. Sinan claimed the court erred in allowing extensive gang evidence, particularly about his involvement in other killings and threats. The court deemed the evidence relevant and more probative than prejudicial. 1. Proceedings in the trial court. Sinan's counsel sought to limit Enriquez's testimony, arguing it was prejudicial. The court allowed the evidence, finding it crucial for establishing motive and gang-related elements of the crime. 2. Applicable law. Gang evidence can prove elements like motive and intent in gang-related crimes but must avoid undue prejudice. The trial court's discretion in admitting such evidence is reviewed for abuse, balancing probative value against potential prejudice. B. refusal to instruct on voluntary manslaughter based on imperfect self-defense or defense of another. Sinan and Daniel sought an instruction on imperfect self-defense for voluntary manslaughter, but the court found insufficient evidence for this. They argued Johnny might have been reaching for a gun, but no substantial evidence supported this theory. C. Instruction on the natural and probable consequences doctrine. The trial court instructed the jury on aiding and abetting liability and the natural and probable consequences doctrine. Following the Supreme Court's decision in People v. Chu, Sinan's first-degree murder conviction required reconsideration, as it could have been based on an invalid theory. Exclusion of evidence of third-party culpability. Daniel's counsel attempted to introduce evidence that the gun used in the crime was involved in another crime while Daniel was in custody. The trial court excluded this evidence, finding it insufficient under People v. Hall. Penal Code Section 654. Daniel argued that his sentence for firearm possession should be stayed under Penal Code Section 654, as it was part of the same conduct as the shooting. However, the court found separate intents for possession and use, allowing for multiple punishments. Sentence for possession of a firearm by a felon. The trial court wrongly imposed a 5-year gang enhancement on Daniel's firearm possession conviction. The correct enhancement should be 2, 3, or 4 years under Penal Code Section 186.22, necessitating a resentencing. Disposition. Sinan's first-degree murder conviction was reversed, with the option for the prosecution to accept a second-degree murder conviction or retry the case. Daniel's 5-year enhancement was stricken, and he was to be resentenced accordingly. All other aspects of the judgments were affirmed. Operation Wipeout. Investigation into Westside Wilmas gang and Mexican Mafia leads to arrests in L.A. May 17, 2023, 1 p.m. The FBI and LAPD announced multiple arrests on Wednesday stemming from a comprehensive investigation targeting the Westside Wilmas gang and the Mexican Mafia. This multi-agency operation, initiated in October 2022 by gang investigators from the LAPD's Harbor Division and the FBI, aimed to disrupt illegal firearm and narcotics sales in the harbor area of Los Angeles. Operation Overview. The investigation, which began by focusing on the Westside Wilmas gang, expanded to encompass the Mexican Mafia, a notorious prison gang that exerts control over many Latino street gangs in Southern California. The operation included serving search warrants at various locations in the South Bay and Bakersfield areas. Arrests and charges. On Wednesday, 7 individuals were arrested, contributing to the total of 10 defendants named across 3 criminal complaints filed in Los Angeles federal court. 1 defendant was already in state custody, and law enforcement continued to search for 3 others. Additionally, 4 defendants were arrested on state charges. Seized contraband. Authorities reported significant seizures in connection with the charges unsealed on Wednesday: 23 firearms, 57.7 pounds of methamphetamine, approximately 23,000 fentanyl pills, 5.2 pounds of powdered fentanyl, 2.2 pounds of cocaine. Federal charges. The 7 federal defendants face various charges, including distribution of controlled substances, possession with intent to distribute controlled substances, and being a felon in possession of a firearm. These charges are based on complaints filed on May 10, 2023. Key individuals and allegations. The affidavit supporting one of the complaints detailed the involvement of high-ranking members and associates of the harbor area gangs, who allegedly conducted numerous illegal activities under the direction of the Mexican Mafia. Both the Eastside and Westside Wilmas gangs, based in Wilmington near the twin ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, operate under the Mexican Mafia's authority. Patricia Amelia Limon. Patricia Amelia Limon, 53, of Lomita, a reputed associate of both the Wilmas gang and the Mexican Mafia, allegedly facilitated 7 drug and firearm transactions from October 2022 to February 2023. Under the direction of a Mexican Mafia member on death row, Limon supplied methamphetamine, fentanyl, firearms, and ammunition, collecting money on behalf of the imprisoned gang leader. November 2, 2022. Limon allegedly sold 5,000 rainbow-colored fentanyl pills for $5,300. November 17, 2022. Limon allegedly sold 3.8 pounds of methamphetamine and 2,000 fentanyl pills for $5,000. Jesus Chuy Delgado. Jesus Chuy Delgado, 46, of San Pedro, a high-ranking member of the Westside Wilmas, engaged in several methamphetamine and firearm sales, including transactions that allegedly took place across the street from a high school and middle school in San Pedro. Delgado reportedly sold ghost guns, semi-automatic weapons without serial numbers, and nearly 2 pounds of methamphetamine while on parole. Legal proceedings and potential sentences. If convicted, Limon and Delgado, charged with the distribution of controlled substances, face a statutory maximum sentence of life in federal prison. Background of the operation. This morning's arrests are part of an ongoing violence reduction initiative launched in late 2020 by a joint FBI and LAPD task force targeting gang activity in the Harbor area. Prior to these arrests, 11 Harbor area gang members and associates were charged with federal drug, firearms, and Hobbs Act robbery crimes, with 3 already convicted and sentenced to prison terms ranging from 10 to 20 years. Conclusion. The FBI and LAPD continue to investigate the matter, with Assistant United States Attorneys Kevin B. Reedy of the Major Fraud Section and Surya M. Bahadu of the Criminal Appeals Section prosecuting the case. The investigation highlights the extensive reach and influence of the Mexican Mafia over local street gangs and underscores law enforcement's commitment to dismantling these criminal networks.